We are Seth and Ellen on Celeste, and we are in Anaho Bay in the Marquesas at the moment. And we were super fortunate this year to get upgraded to a Spectra Ventura 150 Watermaker.
We've been voyaging long distances sort of off and on for the last 13 years. We sailed around the world and on our first boat, and then we got this boat in 2013, and we're really fortunate to be outfitted with a Catadine 40E Watermaker, which was great for our first trip on this boat when we went to the Arctic. And yeah,
the Arctic, when you're way up north there anyhow, there's no groundwater, it's all frozen. So really the only way to get water for a boat is to buy it, in which case you have a lot of little plastic water bottles. So we were really fortunate not to have to go that route, generate a lot of trash. Being able to make our own water was a huge asset. And also then last year in the Tuamotus, when we had our previous Watermaker, it was great to have again there, because you can't get water there except for buying it once again. So yeah, not having to worry about it is fantastic. Having the higher output is super nice too. It allows us to do things like shower, which is nice when we have company over. They appreciate it. And also take care of our dive gear, you know, rinse stuff in fresh water, keep it functioning properly and safely. Having the extra output's pretty sweet for that.
So Celeste, in terms of her gadgets and gear, is a more modern boat than our first boat, which had nothing, no refrigeration, not even an electric anchor windlass. But we're still a pretty simple, low draw boat, because we like to try and keep everything so we can fix it ourselves. So we've got solar power to generate electricity. We've got two 50-watt panels here, and then on the stern we have a 30-watt panel. And then we have these two soft 20-watt panels that we can move around the boat depending on where the sun is. So between it all, on a sunny day, we average about 5 to 6 amps going in. And that's pretty well enough for our needs. We've got a 460 amp battery bank, and that keeps up with pretty much everything we use, including the Watermaker. We don't have a genset. We usually don't run the engine when we're running our Watermaker, so it's, you know, the Ventura 150 is pretty low draw and for good output.
So if you take a look at our little amp meter here, you can see we've got about 7 amps coming into the solar. So that'll sort of give us a good idea of how much the Watermaker is going to draw here. So there we go. And now if you take a look at the draw, we went from 7 to about 4 amps going in. And if I'm really good at math, that's going to add up to only about 3 amps draw at the moment. Now as it gets up to pressure, the draw is going to go up a little bit. But as you can see, we're still not drawing a ton of power here. We're talking like 6 amps, not even 5.5. So one thing about this Spectra Watermaker that's particularly handy is that all the plumbing you typically have to do in the installation is actually low pressure. The high pressure comes from the Clark pump, and you don't have to deal with that yourself if it's sort of one solid unit like this is. So it's pretty easy to install. It's just a matter of flexible tubing and hose clamps. The way it works here is we have salt water coming in, going through a little raw water strainer to the pump. Here's our pump. You can see it's not a huge operation, not a big high pressure pump or anything. So that keeps it low draw and pretty simple to install. From this pump, we're going to go to the carbon filter, which is here. From the carbon filter, we go to the accumulator, and then from there, it's going to come up to the inlet on the Watermaker itself and the Clark pump. The Clark pump is what actually generates the high pressure for us here, so we don't have to worry about having a huge pump, like I said. And then from there, we've got some briny discharge here that's just going to go up through this little hose and then down out through the sink drain. And the product water comes to a little 3-way switch just here. And that 3-way switch allows you to choose between the hose that comes out of the sink up above us here, or putting the water right into the tank. So it's all pretty simple setup, not a huge drama to install, and yeah, it works.
RO, like reverse osmosis watermaker water, is like the ultimate filtered water, so it's obviously really good to drink. And so if you are at all worried about your tanks not being perfectly clean, like if you ever put not good water in them, or if they're aluminum, you can just fill up a bunch of jugs to store your RO water and use that for drinking water. Or you can just put it right in the tank if you're happy with it. We've been really lucky to have it in some places like Mexico, where the water from shore was not very good, and also obviously in places where it's pretty difficult or impossible to get drinking water from shore. And then just to have on big passages like crossing the Pacific Ocean, which is a long stretch of open water.